Shalom and welcome back to the Rashi Nosh. I'm Pastor Matt.
And I'm Kara.
This week we are yet again in the JPS Rashi Torah commentary, the discussion commentary that we've been going through, and it's been really fun, I think, for us to go through these questions. And this week we're a bit nostalgic, I think, because we're in the Torah portion called Chayei Sara, the life of Sara. Now, what's interesting is this could also be translated as the lives of Sara. And I think all of us have different periods in our life. We have different lives. We had a different life in our younger years before we met each other. We have a different life once we get married. We have a different life once we have children. Mm-hmm. And now we are entering a different phase of life as our kids are growing older and getting married, moving out of the house, all that kind of stuff. So in this week, in this particular commentary, the thing that is interesting to me when we talk about the woman of valor. So in this Torah commentary, they always break down into 2 or 3 sections, the Torah portion. And section number 2 is what we're going to be looking at today. And it's entitled Woman of Valor. And let me just read to you what the commentary says, and then we'll discuss some of the discussion questions together. Before the traditional Sabbath evening meal, some people sing the Eshet Chayil, the woman of valor, a hymn from the book of Proverbs that extols the virtues of a Jewish wife, such as kindness, wisdom, industriousness, and good judgment. The quality of kindness emerges as paramount when Abraham's servant, whom Abraham is charged with finding a wife for his son Isaac, speaks to God about the criteria for a suitable candidate. What he says is, and this is a pretty amazing order that he has. It's kind of a tall order. Let the maiden to whom I say, please lower your jar that I may drink, and who replies, drink, and I will also water your camels, let her be the one that you have decreed for your servant Isaac. Thereby I shall know that you have dealt graciously with my master. What it's really just out of this world to me is not just the young lady that offers me a drink, but the one, Lord, let her not just offer me a drink, but let her say she's going to water all of my camels. And he's got 10 camels, and they can drink gallons and gallons of water. So it's quite a test that he puts out there. So Rashi identifies the characteristic of Rebekah, the maiden who passed the test, that made her a suitable candidate for Isaac to marry. He says, let the one whom you have decreed, she is worthy of him, for she will perform acts of kindness, and she is fit to enter the house of Abraham. So obviously, this servant of Abraham, Eliezer of Damascus, he's valuing what his master values, and he's also really putting it out there that she's going to go above and beyond in her acts of kindness. So during Rebekah's first encounter with Abraham's servant, she's described as being very beautiful, but this quality was not significant as far as her being a consideration to be Isaac's wife. Kindness alone defined her as a suitable wife for Isaac. In a similar vein, in the Eshet Chayil, it minimizes the importance of appearance by saying grace is deceptive, beauty is illusory. It's an illusion. In another translation, it will say charm is deceitful and beauty is vain. So this makes us think about what are some qualities that are good to look for in a potential spouse, or if you're in our situation, what qualities would we want to instill to our children to look for a suitable spouse? So there are some good discussion questions in our commentary this week. And the first is, what did your parents teach you about the most important qualities to seek out in a spouse? And do you agree with their criteria? What are some of the things when you were younger that people told you that were older? Hey, here's what you should look for in a husband.
I definitely don't remember everything that they said because it's been quite a few years now. But I do remember specifically both my parents and my leaders in church growing up, really emphasizing how important it was to find somebody that believed in God the way I did, because obviously that foundation is super important, and having a relationship with someone that that doesn't believe the same way is going to add so much stress and strain on the relationship that was like the most important thing to look for. Like they had to have that right off the bat. And then after that, then there was other things, you know, to look for. And I'm sure they said things like, you know, kindness and different things that would be important for a spouse. But a lot of the things that they really focused on when I was younger was just making sure that they were a believer. So that way, you know, all the other stuff could potentially work itself out as long as you had that foundation and God the same. And so that sticks out the most in my brain. What about you?
Well, I think definitely the same. I think that's what my parents instilled within me, or youth leaders, or, you know, mentors, teachers, things like that. That was always important. But then I think you also develop sort of your own opinion about what you're looking for. And you and I had an odd way of going through these things when we first met, where we were on the hunt. I think both of us, we were not into the idea of just dating anyone. We thought if we were going to be in a dating relationship, that we were going to be looking for a potential spouse. And so we quizzed one another. We gave each other a list of these are important things to me that I'm looking for in a spouse. We each did that and gave the list to the other.
And I think we came up with that list just based on either previous relationships or things we valued and saw in our own parents' relationship, or the opposite of that. You know, if we saw something that we didn't, you know, agree with or like so much, then we would, you know, prioritize the opposite of that, you know, with other families and couples that you've seen in your life that come in and out. And I feel like every individual tends to kind of do that, develop their own little list of things, some that are like deal breakers and some that are like, well, this would be nice, but, you know, it doesn't have to be that.
Yes. And, you know, there could always be compromise, but there are, I think, certain things that are essential to us. And I think it's okay to have that sort of scrutiny with someone. And I definitely thought it was important for, let me step back. I don't think I was looking for someone whose family was in ministry, but it was an important thing when I met you and found out that your dad was a pastor and had done youth ministry work as well. That was important to me, that you understood what a ministry family does and goes through and that kind of thing. Something that is very important to me is music. I loved that you were a singer and that you were musical, and so we had, I think, the essential things about we had common beliefs as far as our religion, our spirituality. But I think even beyond that, I think it's okay to value certain things that are important to you. Music is very important to me, and I think I could have married someone that was not into music, or music wasn't important to them, but the fact that we sing together and music has been such a part of our lives and now our children's lives, I think that's important. Yeah. And so it's just another way that we can bond to one another. And I know lots of people that are in ministry who their spouses didn't grow up in a ministry family, or musicians that didn't marry musicians, or things like that. So I'm not saying that you have to be sort of mirror images of one another, but there were certain things that stood out, I think, when we met each other, and those things were important. Now, something that might seem silly or superficial or whatever, I'm not a tall man, and it was special to me to be in a relationship with someone that I was taller than. That might seem a little silly, but so thank you for being a little more slight in your height to make me feel a little taller. So I think it's interesting, the little things that we that we look for and the things that we value, the things that are
taught to us by,
yes,
by those older than us. Yes.
Well, and then that leads us into question number 2. What criteria does popular culture regard as the most important in choosing a spouse? And do you agree with these gauges? And I might even put in here choosing a spouse. I'm not even sure that popular culture values being
Marriage.
a spouse. Yeah.
Not anymore.
So I think
At
there's
least not in America.
right. So I think it's interesting. What do you think? Just people in the popular culture or celebrity or things like that. What do you think they would be telling us is the most important?
I mean, I feel like most relationships like that nowadays are built starting on just appearance, physical appearance and attraction, because with the advent of so much online dating and this and that, it's literally just a picture. You know what I mean? You're choosing somebody by a picture, and I feel like that's probably the main thing that people focus on. And then after that, you know, things like, you know, finances and, you know, maybe common activities or goals or things like that. I feel like those are probably the most prevalent in today's dating world in America.
Yeah. And I like how you bring up social media, because I think when we're trying to get to know someone, I think all of us can say that we have either been a victim of or been guilty of presenting an image on social media that isn't necessarily the most accurate, that we like to put out on various social media platforms the best version of ourselves, or even when things aren't going well, we like to show the world that no, things are going well, everything is perfect, everything is fine. And I think the problem is when we don't have those times of deep conversation. And I think although I've known people that have, you know, met someone online, even in another country, and it has worked out. I mean, I've performed a wedding for people that met online, and the wife ended up moving to the United States. She lived in another country. They talked for a couple of years online, and not just via text, but, you know, video and things like that. And it worked out. But I think there's something to being in the physical presence of someone, seeing someone in the good times and in the bad times, to see how people react to difficulty or stress or disappointment or grieving or things like this. I think it's important that we are knowing the person and not the profile online.
Their whole person. Because, watching how they interact with other people besides you obviously can give you a bigger sense. I know, I remember someone, I can't remember now who it was, when I was growing up, that said, if you want to see how a man will treat you, watch how he treats his mother. And that'll be a good indication as to how he's going to treat you, you know? And so I thought, you know, online and on, you know, one-on-one dating or this and that, you can't always see how they interact with the other people in their lives, their bosses, their family members, their, you know, the lady at the checkout line. How, are they impatient? Are they, you know, are they gracious? You know, those kind of things. Because all of us can put on a front when we're trying to impress someone, but
Yes.
our real personality and our real lives can be a true testament to the kind of character we really have.
Right. And I think maybe this is where we'll conclude. I think it's also good to give people room to grow.
Oh, 100%.
I think I'm a better person today having married you than I was or would have been had I not. I think we have a positive effect.
And I think that's why, like, in the scripture where it said the kindness was important, because, you know, anybody could be pretty, you know what I mean? And even if you're not physically overly attracted to somebody, if they have a good heart, they are kind, and they are, you know, all those things, then you become more attracted to that person based on their heart.
Yes.
And kindness just spills into so many things. She was kind not only to the man, but she was kind to the animals, and sacrificed her time and energy to be able to not just give a quick drink to a man, but to spend the time putting in all the effort to feed the camel. So it really showed character just by that one trait of kindness. So if you know that they are a person, a potential person is, you know, believes the way you do and has even something as basic as kindness, you know that, like you said, things can change and you can develop other things, but those basic things are there. So the relationship already is on a good foundation.
I think that's so well said. That, and maybe this is what we need to bring up now as we conclude here. This is probably a good time for a commercial for Rabbi Shapira's book about Rebecca, whose name in Hebrew is Rivka, and he has this wonderful book called The Rivka Remnant about how Rebecca, she trusted God enough to just say yes. She accepted the proposal of a man. She didn't even meet the man she was going to marry.
Yeah.
And
talk about faith.
Yeah, left her family, left everything behind, and took a journey. And I think we're called to take that Rivka journey, that Rebecca journey. And so if you've not read Rabbi Shapira's book, The Rivka Remnant, I highly recommend it, especially if you're a Christian. I think that it's so important for us to do that as people who are grafted into Israel. We need to take that journey. So instill within your kids and your grandkids the things that are important. And if you are watching this video and you're looking for a spouse, make sure that you put those things that are important, really important, at the top of your priority list, and not some of the things that aren't as important. We both know someone that met, she thought was the perfect man, the perfect potential husband for her, and he was, but she just didn't find him very handsome. She wasn't attracted to him in that way. And
he had all the other qualities.
He had all the other qualities. And she said, Lord, I think this might be the man for me, but make him handsome to me. She prayed this, you know, may I be attracted to him in that way, because they had mutual friends. They were introduced to one another, and she thought, I'm just blown away by this man and his faith and his commitment and his kindness and everything. He's so perfect, but I don't feel that spark of attraction. And then she said the next time he came over to take her to dinner, when she opened the door and saw him, she was overcome with this sense of, oh, how handsome he is. So attraction is not as important, and it will fade. You know, all of us, I will say to my lovely wife, I don't look the same as I did 30 years ago.
Me neither.
but these things are temporal. And I think your feelings towards someone, as far as exterior beauty or attractiveness, tends to change. You tend to find each other more attractive as you get to know the inner person. And I think that's so important. And I think we are aging gracefully. And I have a lot more gray hairs in my beard and hair than I used to. And you find me distinguished. I don't know that you do. Do you find me distinguished? Okay, good. All right. Well, thank you all very much for joining us once again on the Rashi Nosh. Make sure you are prioritizing what is actually important. And as we are in this week in Parashat Chayei Sara, let Sara be an example to us. Let Rebecca be an example to us. And for us men, let Isaac be an example to us. And it's a beautiful love story. Read it this week and be inspired. Thank you so much for joining us. Shalom.